Hey everybody, welcome back to some casual Wingspan gameplay here. Today we're going to try something different from what we have done before, um, or at least I will be providing a commentary track for something I have not shown before. This is a game where we try to achieve the highest score we can in Wingspan, and we don't do that with the aid of any computer opponents. We do so by controlling all five of the different players. And essentially, we have one player who's going for that high score, and four other players that are feeding that one player resources and doing their best to help them out. This is not something that I came up with myself, certainly. I have seen pictures online of other people playing this way and achieving what would initially appear to be obscene scores. Um, but with the help of four other players and a whole heck of a lot of luck, you can actually get some pretty outrageous scores. And how do you do that? It is, believe it or not, through a wetland engine and everyone's favorite card, the Greater Flamingo. It should really be called the Greatest Flamingo. And getting tons of tucks. So this is actually a game that I sadly did not record the whole thing from. I had actually already recorded a pretty strong score and kind of gave up on trying to beat that score. Um, and then I was casually just kind of going through the motions while chatting online with some friends, and all of a sudden realized I was in the game of a lifetime. And so had to record, started recording I'm in round two here. And then unfortunately, played while I was chatting with my friends and was switching back and forth thinking that the recording software would be fine with it, but it was actually causing a lot of issues with the screen recording software. And a whole big chunk of this game is missing. Eventually, I decided that the game was so good that I really needed to stop playing on the side while chatting with my friends and stop playing until it was until I could focus on it completely, just to make sure I didn't screw up too much. So then the end of the game. So we're gonna see a little chunk in the middle here, and then I think the final round we will just watch in its entirety. So let's talk about what you're going to see here. I had starting hand flamingo, which is quite essential. If you don't have a starting hand flamingo, you're not going to be able to top this score, I feel. So take notes if you want to try this yourself. There's going to potentially be many attempts to test out starting hand, load a new game, go through all five starting hands in hopes that you'll have a greater flamingo. And then if you don't, you just have to wipe it and try again. The greater flamingo can get tons of tucks, up to 7 or 8 round one if the other players, which you happen to control, just do nothing but draw cards. And then what other cards do you want in your wetland? You'll see that I have the Mockingbird, the Catbird. Both of those allow you to repeat a brown power. So if you think about that, you repeat that Flamingo, and you are suddenly getting double digits of tucks very easily. And then on top of that, the insane part of this, if it's the end of round two when I already have a main duck down and a white swan is in the tray. So I have really just a ridiculous engine prepared for the start of round three. And as someone who has gone through many iterations of this, I can tell you that getting all of that by the start of round three is, I haven't done the math on the probability of that, but I cannot imagine it being, it must be in the very small percentile. So without further ado, let's dive into it. Let's take a look at what's happening here. and I'll try to walk you through my thought process and what I'm doing with my main my main player and then the 4 supporting players. So here we go. All right, so here we go. We are only, what, 3 rounds into round 2, and look at that board. Flamingo, catbird, mockingbird, and Maine duck. And of course, we just saw the mute swan in the tray. But here we're looking at, well, we were just looking at one player who had a Brolga, which offers up eggs. So those are actually really important. There are plenty of cards that offer food to other players. I would say less cards that offer other cards to players, and even less cards that offer eggs. So getting that Brolga down, very nice. Again, very lucky. Luck plays so much into this. And now on to the main event here. Here we have me picking up that mute swan, and then copying my greater flamingo. Of course, the great thing about the greater flamingo is that all the birds that you tuck, you get them all back. So here we go. We are just digging, and then we get to repeat it twice. So of course, if you do the math here, this is a 15 point, well, let's see here. 3 times 4 is 12, plus 3 is 15. Yeah, so 15-point turn, wall. I think we're already getting birds from other cards, so we're also gaining bird cards. So, yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. You are going to see that playing this way is just a fury of menuing. Each turn you get, boom, you get a silver eye, you get an egg, and it just kind of never ends, especially for the main player. So it's a bit of an endurance race. Here we've got this black-chinned hummingbird, which is going to offer up food to all players. And you see he's grabbing cards. What I'm doing there is I am shuffling out cards I know that aren't really of much use. So anything that's not a sharing card that other players can pick up, or anything that isn't going to help out my engine, or possibly play another bird cards in the forest or grasslands, or the Imperial Eagle, the 2 big eagles. It's really all I'm looking for at this point. Here we see one of my players I had set up to offer up cards, food, nectar. So got lucky with my other player cards as well. And it's just, I mean, you're going to get lost in all this menuing. It's pretty tough to keep up with. And I'm actually at a point where prior I had been digging through cards, clearing out the tray by the other players, but you see pretty quickly I start skipping that. You want to kind of shuffle out cards you don't like out of the tray, using your non-main player in order to increase the likelihood of something really great popping up in that tray. But you also have to think about, believe it or not, in this gameplay, there's the possibility that you might, once your engine gets going, you might empty the deck. And that just means, you're not going to be able to draw more cards. Your engine might come to a grinding halt. Never actually happened to me throughout my games, but it gets pretty darn low. So here we are, back to the Brolga. And see, I'm no longer going to take cards off the top of the tray. You certainly don't want to draw cards from the deck, because maybe you would draw something that you'd actually want your main player to have, and then that just kind of hoses you. So, I decided to clear out a few more cards. Still thinking there's a couple things I might like. You'll notice that I have not played the Swan yet. That's because that would be, I don't know. I'm not sure how many points the Swan's even worth, but we'll say it's 5. Maybe it's 6. That would be a 4-point play, and then there's no way you're making up those points this late in the round that you would be getting off of your flamingo. So I mean, look at this. If I played my swan this turn instead of getting those 24 points total, that would be an awful move. So you want to save the card laying on your main board for the start of each round. And the way this round, this game went, at this point, I actually got the flamingo in my starting hand, which is absolutely a requirement. Don't try this until you have a player who has a flamingo in the starting hand. And then I actually got the catbird round 1 as well, and that mockingbird and main duck down in round 2, as we see. And then that mute swan's going to go down right at the start of round 3. See here, I'm just digging. Most all of this is not of any use to me. And the only thing that is of use to other players is these sharing cards. The shoveler passes out a card to everybody, and what is their hummingbird there passing out food. There we go. Not getting that end of round goal. So now it's the start of a new round, and what we are wanting to do is, first of all, I'll say that this is a terrible mistake. This is the big mistake, I would say, of the game. I should not have done this. I never actually activate this guy. This guy also passes out cards, but it takes 2 cards out of the deck. And it's at this point when I really realize that, oh, I don't want to be there's no need to cycle through the deck anymore. I pretty much got everything I want. And if not, my flamingo's going to get it. And I'm running the risk of spending that entire deck if I'm still digging through looking for more specific cards. So I play this card, and then what's the end of round goal here? It is play a bird. So really all I really should want to do at this point is play my swan. And then just run the engine. That's a ridiculous engine like that. Final round, we do want to get some nectar in my other 2 habitats, and you'll see how I do that near the end. But yeah, if I had not played that bird, I could have easily won the end of round with by just playing the mute swan. So then it leaves me with a bit of a bad decision I have to make as to what I'm going to do about is it worth it to go for the end of round. For now, we see that I'm just going to put down this. I'm looking for it. So many cards. I know I got a mute swan in there somewhere. Where is it? There it is. Oh, and then I click on the wrong one because I have way too many cards. You'll see I have a chiff chaff in there. I don't think I got that until after the main duck went down. And actually, if there was any way you wanted to improve on this game, it would be to put down the chiff chaff instead of the main duck. They both just tuck a certain number of cards. Of course, the main duck can tuck up to 3, and the chiff chaff can tuck up to 5. Okay, so we had to do a jump there because that's when my software started messing up. You can see where we're at. We're at the final end of round here. And I played that Imperial Eagle, not the strongest play, but that was for that third end of round goal. And I did the math on it, and I felt it still got me ahead of running my engine early with the nectar points and the end of round goals. But it looks a little weak on my board. Would have been much better to do that this turn. So now it's just the final round here, running this engine. And as I was saying, the only thing I could have done better here is if I had been lucky enough to get that shift shaft before the main duck and get that guy down. But, so the perfect board would be Flamingo, Catbird, Mockingbird, Chiff Chaff, and Mute Swan. I would have gotten more points that way. I am left with cards in my hand, but there's, you can only ask for so much in life. This is still an obscenely strong board. And now it's just going through these motions. I believe I played, we'll have to double check my board, but I'm almost positive I played that Hornbill at the start of the round that we missed. My software was messing up because I was flipping between programs too much. My screen recording software was not behaving itself, which I should have known it would be doing. I have too much faith in OBS, but you can see that I'm just kind of skipping everything at this point. I don't think I need any other resources provided from these other players. I don't think I ever activated that Pygmy Goose once. we're passing out more cards, but don't need food anymore. It's just going to be running this engine. Probably pass this out just because it's easier to click. Yep. You're kind of just trying to minimize clicks at this point. So, here's this bird that passes out cards to everyone. Everyone else should be skipping it. We don't want any other player to be stealing our cards away from us. It's so nice that we can actually skip these powers as we want. An interesting thing with that bunting is that I discovered in this game that if you have no bull nest egg spaces left, you can't empty out that. You can't activate that bunting anymore. So I had to figure out a way to spend an egg. Ooh, my voice is failing me here. I've had a cold, but we're going to power through this. We got 2 turns left. And it's just going to keep on tucking. So 156 tucks on our Flamingo, 331 on our main duck. We're getting eggs. Yeah, we do have an action cube on Player Bird, so we managed to get down that Hornbill with both the Vireo and the Downy Woodpecker, the best plain other bird, forest bird you can get. It would have been so nice to be able to do the same for that eagle, but that would be that's the big. If there's any room for improvement in this game, it is how I handled the grassland and the main duck as opposed to the Chiff Chaff. But I mean, I've seen 2 screenshots of people playing this way on the internet. One scored 310, the other scored in the 330s. So let's see, did I beat those people or not? The interesting thing about those games is that they both had a lot of teal powers that in their grasslands, which allowed them to score points based on how often another player activated their grasslands or based on food in there. Caching food. And we don't do any of that. We are pure wetland here. Skipping all the good stuff. It really is quite a lot of just keeping focused. Tons of little decisions to be made as to when to activate the co-op birds, when not to activate them. How are you going to get those nectars? When do you play birds? It's there's a lot of little decisions to it. For some reason, this was a misclick. I definitely did not mean to activate that power. But since I'm doing it, I'll send the hooded warbler over. You know, you see so many birds, they're all meaningless when you play this way. There's a select few number of birds that matter, and all the rest are just fodder for your tucks. Skipping this power because I'm full up on those eggs anyways for my main player. You really have to remember too that you do need one player to do nothing but draw cards in a round because that's what feeds your flamingo. If you forget that and all of your other players do one action outside of the wetlands, you're going to miss out on some tucking points. Gathering all sorts of resources we don't need. Yeah, I'm not sure why we didn't activate that lay an egg in a bowl nest bird. Here we are, final round. I am like quadruple checking everything. There is no way any other action but activate the wetlands is going to get us more points. I mean, it is just... How many are we going to get here? 3 on the swan, 3 on the maned duck, that's 6. Plus 15, I believe, is 21. I mean, it's of course absurd to think that I could do anything better. But here we go. Here's our 3. Trying to keep them off the main duck and the keep on the catboard, mockingbird, and swan so that they get some tucks. Having trouble with my input. Sometimes it glitches out. Drawing my 1 card, tucking 3 more, so that's 6 points. And then here we go, plus 5 more. That is going to be 11. A few more tucks. That's 16, and then finally 21. Yeah, but when you're scoring, when you're in the rounds of 7 or 8 turns, then of course you could get... Oh, and look at that! The deck empties out on my very final draw. So that is the end of that. Amazingly, it landed right on the final turn of drawing. The deck is now officially empty. There's nothing in the tray. There's nothing left to grab. So now we've got 2 more players. Nothing left to do. I'm checking everything. So I'm just gonna head to the forest and skip the egg laying. Because we are done, my friends. Here we go. We have 3 cavity nests with eggs, thanks to all of our other cards giving us resources. We're going to win all 3 nectar battles with our single nectar in the forest and grasslands, and then quite a bit in the wetlands, because it would be spending nectar to get more cards and play birds and things of that nature. So on to our final score. The counter glitches out a little bit. It can't quite handle. It's not meant to have all of this. Our bonus card. I forget what our bonus card was, but we got a few points off of it. Perhaps you saw at some point in the video. And here we go. Here are our tucks. It's still going. Very fun way. Well, should I say it's a fun way to play? It's a different way to play. It is hugely time consuming, and you have to be a little crazy to play this way because you can spend an hour of just cycling through starting hands looking for someone with a flamingo. Looking for a starting hand with a flamingo and never finding it. But there is our final score, 345. Um, so yeah, very, very interesting way of playing Wingspan. Um, Oceania, of course, allows you to get more points with that nectar, and something like the hornbill, which allowed me to empty out one of my cards of eggs. And there we go. So yeah, interesting way to play the game. Requires a lot of patience. You not only do you have to find a flamingo in the starting hand, but you also need to make sure that like any of the other key birds are not in other starting hands. And then you just have to do a lot of tucking, a lot of planning, a lot of figuring things out, and hoping that you find all these other helpful co-op birds. Because sometimes you can find a flamingo and then just not have any other players with many co-op powers, and then you're just stuck. But anyways, we're going to end it there. I hope you enjoyed that. And yeah, we will definitely see you next time for something maybe a little more traditional. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you have a great day. See you later.